go. Hi.
Hey.
How are you
Hey,
doing, Charlie?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
How have things been going for you lately this past week?
I have to say, pretty uneventful.
Okay.
Nothing too exciting. Nothing too depressing.
Well, that's good at least. How are things going with your girlfriend?
She's been pretty busy at school herself, so it's been all right. We talked a little bit this week, but
Okay.
nothing too crazy.
And I remember I told you about maybe you could go see your parents for a homework assignment
Yeah.
and see, since you have moved out and have not seen them in quite some time, if there was a difference in the way they acted around you or if things were the same.
Well, I met my mom for coffee. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't really make it to dinner. We went to coffee,
That's
and
good.
that was good. Dad didn't said he was busy,
Okay.
so
How did that make you feel when your dad said, I'm kind of busy? Did you feel like that was a real, I'm busy? How did you feel?
well, yeah, I kind of did. Actually, I did. I couldn't understand why, but since we hadn't
So,
seen each other in a while,
right, that must have been kind of sad and disappointing.
yeah, definitely sad.
Okay. And he seems to be the one you have the closer relationship, if I'm recalling correctly, from our first session.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought too. So I couldn't understand why. So
And there's nothing that you can think of offhand that would have prevented him from coming to the coffee.
no, not. I mean, not unless Mom asked him not to come. I don't know. I mean,
Right?
no,
Maybe,
no.
do you think that could be a possibility that your mother would have asked him not to come?
It could be. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely could be. Yeah.
Okay.
Just
Maybe
kind of
she wanted some girl time. Or a little.
sure.
First thing I want to say, I'm so sorry. Maybe she wanted some time just with you, alone.
I'll go with that.
Now, so you guys met for coffee,
Right.
and did you go to her house? Lay out the scenario
No,
for me.
we actually met halfway since there's
Hmm.
about an hour in between us. We met halfway, and I kind of didn't really want to go home either.
Right.
So
I can understand that.
yeah. So we met halfway at a coffee shop. Kind of it was a small, quiet, not anything loud and bustling like Starbucks. I didn't really want to talk to her in a loud place where everybody can hear you. So we had a little chat, and I kind of explained the plans to her. Told her I'd already started talking with you, and she started to cry. Started to cry.
Now, when she started to cry, do you feel like that was her crying out of sadness? What was your take on her crying?
Well, she said, that she felt like she was losing a daughter, and it's hard for me to say, but Mom, I'm right here. I'm just not Charlene.
Right, you're Charlie now.
Right.
Right.
Right. So
So this is about, I guess, 5 or 10 minutes into the conversation, perhaps.
After we had to hear about Aunt Louise and
Oh, okay.
all the different other family drama other than me. Thank
Okay.
goodness.
Right.
Try to get the awkwardness out.
Now, how did that make you feel when you saw your mom after you were courageous enough to tell her about your plans moving forward and how that impacted her and how she reacted?
I just hope I'm not making a mistake in the long run. I hope it's not gonna tear her even more apart from me because I am the only child. So, I feel like, what am I to do? What if she does completely disown me? I don't know. She didn't say she would,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know.
It sounds like you have a lot of fear about being responsible for your relationship with your mother.
yeah, and they're, well, and they're not young, you know, they're not young. So I'm worried if something happens to them, will I have this regret? And it's just me. I don't know. It's just a lot of thoughts on my shoulders right now.
It sounds like since you are the only child, you're taking responsibility as the only child to foresee that they do have a good future and are taken care of, and to see that you preserve your relationship with them.
That's what kids are supposed to do, right?
Hmm.
I don't know.
That must be
That's,
hard though, being the only child and not having any siblings at all and feeling that big responsibility.
yeah, and that's kind of why my girlfriend and I, we kind of had a little bit of a spat about that. She wanted to go with me, but I didn't want her to go right now. I just kind of wanted to tell my mom the, you know, firm plans, and that probably would have been difficult had she been there with me.
Sounds like you made a good decision then because you said it would be difficult if she was there with you.
I think things might have would have gotten a little bit heated,
Hmm.
and you know,
Now, your
get it from two
girlfriend,
sides.
you said you had a spat with her about it. Did she not understand that? Well, how did that develop exactly? Tell me about how it
Well,
started.
she was a little annoyed that I wouldn't take her with me in the first
Hmm.
place, and she's really only talked to my mom just picking up when she picked up my phone. So
Oh.
they've never really met. So with them not even having met,
Hmm.
and my mom, I don't even know she really grasps that she's my girlfriend.
Hmm.
I'm not really sure. So with that, I didn't really want to put that on my mom as well. And of course, my girlfriend is saying, well, you kind of, you know, what's the old saying? Put the horse in front of the car. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
You
put
need to
the
just,
cart in front of the
yeah,
horse.
and you just need to peel the band-aid off, rip
Right.
the band-aid off.
Right. So she
Mhm.
felt like it was an appropriate time to just tell your mother everything, your plans for the future, your relationship with her, and introduce
I
them
think so.
to.
And I just kind of, and I didn't feel that it was time. I kind of felt I needed to prep
Mhm.
my mom. And of course, I don't want my mom to feel that she's the reason that, not my mom being my girlfriend's the reason for all this
Mhm.
occurring. I
Mhm.
don't want that either. And we've only been together just over a month and a half. So it's a month and a half, not like it's been a year or 2 years.
Mhm.
I don't feel like, how do I know she's going to stick around?
And I mean, like you said, it's a new relationship.
Yeah.
Your mom has had some bad reactions to things before, so it sounds like you're trying to take baby steps instead of overwhelm her with everything at one time.
And me. Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. I think that was smart of you and very courageous to be willing to tell her of your plans. I think that was very courageous of you. Tell me a little bit more, though, about the coffee date with your mother. So she started crying, and then what happened next?
She kept saying, "Who are you? Who are you going to be? I mean, how do I know you're going to?" And she said, how do I know you're going to love me?"
Mm-hmm.
And which was, heartbreaking because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you don't understand. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make a new life. I'm not trying to just leave the country and become a new person. I just I felt like this all my life. And
Mm-hmm.
so I I don't I don't want to be your princess girl.
Mm-hmm.
So
And what was her reaction after that? Did she stop crying or compose herself quickly? Did it go on a while? Tell me a
no,
little bit
I
about
mean
that.
she kind of, I think it was initial shock. And
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be the last one. I know how her head just keeps turning and turning, obsessing over
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And that's kind of how I'm actually obsessing over, you know, this issue that I'm dealing with
Mm-hmm.
myself. So you, I don't know how to deal with her and then deal with me and then deal with the girlfriend too.
Mm-hmm.
So
It sounds like you feel almost torn between trying to break it to your mother in a fashion that you feel like will be best for her to process, and trying to also please your girlfriend with showing her that you're invested in the relationship.
Right. Yes. And of course, my mom says, I didn't raise you to be gay. Well, I know that's what she thinks because she sees me as a girl,
Mm-hmm.
but it's it's truly hard for me to get that point across to her. And so I don't know, maybe I don't are there books? Are there any kind of is there anything I can read and pass on to her about what's going on in my head? What?
Yes, there are many, many resources out there, and I will definitely get the secretary to give you a list of some things. But what I think might be really good is if you would be open, and this is a question, not a demand or anything. If you are open, I feel it might be a good thing for us to do some role playing in the future, and I will pretend to be your mother, and I will pretend to be you, and you will pretend to be your mother. So we can actually do some role playing in here in our counseling sessions that might really help you to be able to communicate exactly what you want to communicate to your mother by practicing. Sometimes practice is a good thing. What do you think about that?
I, I, I'm not opposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, never done that before, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why not. I guess if practice makes perfect kind of
Mm-hmm.
scenario, can't get it words out, then I'm game for anything because I feel like I have the world on my shoulders. I feel like there's a lot. And I mean, it's just stuff that I don't feel like I should have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And you're a young person, but you're facing these huge issues. So it must be overwhelming and really hard at times. You must feel like you're just drowning in these huge issues that you can't get your head above water on.
yeah.
How does
Yeah.
that feel trying to juggle your mom and your girlfriend and them maybe feeling like you're conflicted between the two?
I keep telling my girlfriend that I need time.
Hmm.
I can't just jump off of, a bridge and expect it to happen.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, I think she just wants like instant gratification. And I'm not ready for that. I mean,
Hmm.
and I don't want to be mean and say, you know what, I've only known you 2 months max.
Right.
So,
Sounds like, and we can definitely work on that. We can't control what your mother does or what your girlfriend does. All we can work on in these sessions is you and how you handle things.
right.
But I feel like we can totally work on some coping strategies that'll reduce your stress, which leads me to asking you about the cutting. How did that go this week?
I held up to my end of the contract.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so awesome.
So,
Wow. You seem not real happy though about it at the same time.
it's stressful, but
Okay.
no, I was good. I held up my end.
So because you're not smiling when you said it, I'm getting the feeling that possibly it was really difficult for you.
It was very difficult. Yes, because that is definitely my go-to coping
Mm-hmm.
mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
Well, when you found something that works to relieve stress, you do return back to that behavior. So, part of what we'll be doing also in these sessions together, and we will collaborate on different coping skills, and I will introduce you to other coping skills that will be more healthy and that you can try and utilize. How do you feel about utilizing different things?
sure, I'm not a big fan of the squeeze ball or anything, but
Mm-hmm. Right. And
sure.
some people think that's a little hogwash or what have you. Let's squeeze a ball and it'll release tension. But what we'll do in the sessions coming forward is I will introduce and educate you about different coping skills.
Okay.
And then you're never going to be forced to try one. You're going to be introduced the coping skill, and then if you are interested in trying it, that's the one we're going to try because you know you better than anybody else does.
Okay.
How does that sound?
I can do that.
Okay, and then we
Yeah.
can work to replacing the cutting with a more productive, non-harmful coping skill that will still give you the release that you're getting by cutting.
Okay.
How would it feel to have that same level of stress release and relief, but not cutting?
Um, I guess that would be, you know, affirmation that things were moving in the right direction
Okay.
on, a different subject.
Mhm.
So,
So it seems like you're very open and willing to learning about different coping mechanisms and to incorporating some of those into your life and trying them at least.
absolutely.
Okay, so that's a great direction that we can go, and that's something we can work together collaboratively on. We can partner together in our sessions, and going forward, the next session I will actually come and I will have homework. How about that? I'm going to give myself some homework
Okay.
to come armed with a lot of education about different coping skills that I want to introduce to you and share with you, and then the ones you're interested in, we can try together. Does that sound like a plan?
Sure.
And it sounds like something you'd like to work on?
Definitely. I mean, I need to work on some things. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm willing to take any bit of advice.
Okay.
Not, I might as well get something out of this, right?
Right. And you said before that you felt like you were really just being forced into this and that you definitely didn't feel like you needed it. But now are you starting to see that there can be some benefit from coming to counseling sessions?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy getting verbally getting some things out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel like that's been a little helpful this past week? The fact that you know that you are going to be able to come back and be able to talk and not be judged by anything that you say or do?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So what is, I want you to be thinking about this, and you may not have an answer right away, but if you don't, that's okay. But I want you to be thinking, if you could wake up and have the perfect world, what would that look like to you?
Oh wow. That's really a tall order.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a lot of things I'd like to have, my checklist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you, I don't know if I see my girlfriend in the future, that
Mm-hmm.
far in the future. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of young to even think about that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like to finish school.
That's great.
I think that's how on my priority list now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I definitely want to have the hormones and the surgery.
Okay, good.
So, I've been doing a lot of research on that. And I know it's not easy,
Mm-hmm.
but there are things that I probably need to have in place before the surgery. So,
And earlier you said that you weren't even sure if you might be making a mistake and you felt a little unsure, but now I'm feeling that you really do feel sure.
no, I'm sure about this surgery.
Okay.
I'm fearful of what my mom's retaliation will be.
Okay.
So,
So you're not unsure about having the surgery and having the hormones.
right.
What's making you kind of panicky and uncertain and fearful is the way your mother and possibly your father are going to react about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, we're from a small town and
Mhm.
people are not used to me as Charlie.
And I can understand why that would be a fear of yours, definitely, in this
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Do you think that fear kind of contributes a little bit to your stress level?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What do you think is the number like 1 and 2 contributors to your present stress level?
Um, Definitely my mom.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, my mom is definitely. I care about her. I mean, we do not see eye to eye,
Mm-hmm.
but I do care about her, and I care about how she feels.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't want to embarrass my parents.
Right.
But they got to understand that I'm not who they think I am. So, or who they want me to be either. I mean, I know they'd love to have the daughter who gets married to a guy and has grandkids for them.
Mm-hmm.
My mom would love grandkids, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that. I don't necessarily see that in my long-term plan.
So you
Definitely not
don't
right now.
really see, well, you're young,
Yeah.
and like you mentioned before, you're young, and that might be something that you do see later. And I want you to know though that there are options.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are options for you. It's not that you're going to have the surgery and not be able to ever have kids. There are still options for
Right.
you to be a parent.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you said you had done some research. Did you do more research this past week, or have you done all this research before even meeting with the doctor?
Well, I've been going and looking at the pros and cons
Mm-hmm.
of the surgeries, different YouTubes, and
Oh,
been
okay.
reading about different doctors too. So it's kind of been a plethora, a mosh podge of different information,
Mm-hmm.
but just curiosity too, what to expect, and
Have you met with anybody who's gone through the surgery?
I can't say that I have. I don't
Mhm.
know. No.
Because there are support groups and that consist of people who are thinking about having the surgery, who have had the surgery, and who are in progress, so to speak. And I'm not sure about this area for sure or how far away that would be,
Mhm.
but I wanted to mention it to you and see if that would be something you'd be interested in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I would like to meet someone, or yeah,
Mhm.
because I'm gonna assume that they have parents too, and maybe significant
Mhm.
others that, yeah,
So I'm getting a sense from you that this would be a huge like relief for you to have a conversation and meet with someone who has these same feelings and thoughts that are so contradictory to what society demands of everybody regarding gender. Is that right?
yes, society can be very cruel. I mean,
Mhm.
granted, I mean, I know there's organizations out there, but I mean, I can go and look online, but what about day to day stuff?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's trying. It can be lonely.
Yes,
So
and having someone who has the same thoughts as you and the same feelings as you would be an extra layer of support for you that you could definitely use, it sounds like, with everything that's on you right now.
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about support. Who do you feel you get the most support from at this present moment?
Well, dealing with these issues, it would definitely be my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's pretty open in that sense. But because obviously not my parents, but and I don't have a plethora of friends,
Okay.
so I'm kind of maybe I shelter myself. I mean, I'm sure I do.
Do you find yourself not engaging or in social events and such as that on campus?
Um, I'm not a big sorority kind of person,
Okay.
and no, not really.
So you don't participate much at campus, right?
No, not so much.
Is there a reason for that, possibly?
I just feel they're not my type of people.
Okay.
Like the girls are really, really girly. Or maybe I mean, I haven't seen any organizations on campus
Mm-hmm.
that really interest me a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't, I haven't seen anything.
Do you think it could possibly also be a little bit of the fear of rejection, maybe?
I've had a little bit of that, absolutely.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
yeah, yeah,
mhm.
maybe it is that.
Yeah. So maybe, going forward, you could research some of the events on campus and try to pick out one that you might would be willing to at least go to. And I'm not saying stay at it, but just go to it. Just stay for maybe 5 minutes, see how you feel at the end of the 5 minutes, and then decide, oh, I'm out of here, or this isn't so bad. I'm going to stick around another 5 minutes. How do you think dealing with an event that way would make you feel?
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not a horrible idea.
Mhm.
I know they have something involving puppies or something. I like dogs,
Oh,
so
animals are really a great thing to have in your life because
yeah,
they're very accepting of everybody.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Do
So
you have an animal?
no, we used to at our house, but our dog passed away, and living in an apartment on campus can't have any. So
Right.
um, maybe when I move off, I probably would. I'd like to do
Mhm.
that. But I do like animals a lot, and I do feel that you're right, like they're, you know, you talk to them.
I
They may
know.
not answer back,
Exactly.
but
They might not answer back, but they
might be a
might.
good thing. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, my girlfriend mentioned maybe getting I don't, getting like a little dog walking job, kind of like that. So I know she cares about me. I know
Hmm.
she's interested in my day-to-day activities,
Hmm.
um, where, you know, not necessarily my mom, but definitely I think I put the loneliness on myself and I get depressed sometimes just because I keep just thinking and thinking about these feelings and I keep just, letting them stew inside of me. So I don't know.
So maybe the fact that you haven't gone to many events on campus deals more with the stress that you've been under. Possibly. That could be a
Maybe.
contributing factor as well.
Yeah. I mean,
I think
perhaps.
I think once we go over in the next session some coping skills and education about different varieties and you can pick one to try, that will be a step in a good direction for you so that you can know multiple things to try and not just, one thing of the cutting to get that release of the stress. Also, what about exercise? How's your exercise?
Ugh, I don't do too much.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't do too much.
And of course, you just had the physical exam,
Yeah.
so with your
Hmm.
doctor, so everything was, you got good reports with
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Blood work, all, the normal was good.
And you did mention about your parents being older. Are there
Mhm.
anything that runs in the family, any diseases or anything that you're concerned about for them?
I've never even thought to ask.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't even think about that. Doctor didn't ask me, so
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It might be good to know that sort of thing going forward so that you can maybe have a proactive approach and try to have the best case scenario for yourself in case that does
Yeah.
manifest itself in you.
Okay.
And you said you have no siblings.
No.
So what about anybody else significant in your life besides your parents?
Not so much.
Not so
No.
much. Okay. And
No.
it sounds like socioeconomic, you guys were really on pretty good footing with that. I mean, you're in college and
Yeah. I mean, I'm paying for college, so I
okay.
mean, well, my mom gives, sends me spending money. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just financial aid, so
Okay.
it's not like we're not wealthy people.
Hmm.
Um,
But it seems like you guys weren't in a state where you couldn't afford food,
no,
water.
no,
Okay,
mm-mm.
okay.
No, we were lucky like that. My dad worked for car company, so
Oh, okay. That's good. And are they retired now, or are
um,
they still working?
my mom does some work at the church, but she
Hmm.
doesn't. I mean, it's not anything huge. I think it's just more or less busy work for her. She does a little
Okay.
bit of the bookkeeping and stuff like that, and just filing.
Yes, you had mentioned that she has a strong tie to the church
Yeah,
community, and I believe Southern Baptist was
correct.
the. You
Yeah,
laughed when I said that, so I'm sure that might to me indicate that you've become pretty frustrated with them, and you're kind of trying to deflect some of the frustration. Is that
they're
right?
a little different. Yeah, I mean, I
Hmm.
grew up that way, so
Right.
and then I went to a school that was part of the church, so it was like 7 days of church
Oh wow.
almost.
How did that feel being inundated with it so solidly 7 days
Um,
straight?
I think it kind of just really it was just too much,
Right.
and I knew what was going on inside of me, so I was kind of like, why why is this happening? Why do I feel like this? And I would question God, and
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't do that anymore, but
What
I
are
think
your views on God right now in your spiritual life?
I do believe that there's a higher being.
Okay.
Um, I don't think we came from cells out of the sea.
Mhm.
I do feel that there's
Mhm.
a higher being, and I'm grateful I'm here, but I do question I do question the higher being or God or whoever whatever you want to call whoever every
Mhm.
religion is different, but I do
Mhm.
question that because it just doesn't seem fair. Just doesn't seem fair that you would have a person born like this and then their mind is completely different.
So it sounds like you're having a bit of a conflict with your spirituality and religious side of yourself, because although you do believe in a higher power and you're very grateful for the higher power and for the chance to live a good life, you also feel like, why would you be born, this gender and feel like the other gender the whole
Yeah, I
time?
mean, it just feels like some people have their lives all figured out, and
Hmm.
I question everything.
Hmm. Now, when you made your decision to go forward and have the surgery and have the hormones, did you feel any relief whatsoever? How did you feel when you came to that decision?
I don't know if I felt any relief. I don't feel any relief yet. No.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure I know or if I can describe what I'm feeling.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's a lot of I think sometimes it's just different day to day.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm excited about it. Sometimes like after coffee I feared that it was gonna just tear my family and I apart. You know, I don't know. I really, really don't know.
So it sounds like it didn't really give you any closure, and maybe when you get the surgery done or the hormone treatment started, you'll feel more at ease then.
Maybe. I really truly hope so.
Yes. I can imagine that you would feel a little bit better after taking the steps that are coming next.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
And it seems like you're very excited about starting the process.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Hmm.
Um, I know that, that in the very beginning there's going to be some side effects, and my hormones are going to be all over the roof,
Right.
but all over the roof, all over the place. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you want something bad enough in life, you have to. work for it. I mean,
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, things are hard, but the end result makes it worth it. The journey is worth it because of the end result. And it seems like you're very much looking forward to having your outward appearance match what's going on inside and what have
absolutely.
you.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be really invaluable for you to have some good coping skills coming forward, especially since you mentioned that about your hormones are going to be all over the place, and that will give you some coping skills to fall back on during those times that will possibly be very beneficial for you coming forward. Now, you met with, oh, one thing I wanted to ask you with, speaking of coping
Hmm.
skills, are there any other coping skills you utilize besides the cutting? Do you drink a lot or
No, not
anything
so
like
much.
that?
I'm not a huge drinker.
Okay.
Um, well, I'm 20, so I'm not
Right,
supposed to anyway. But
right.
I mean, I've had a beer,
Most
but
20-year-olds drink.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I find a lot on campus. It's kind of crazy. But
Sure.
yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of a loner in a sense. I'm not,
Hmm.
extremely out there. So I guess maybe there's some things that I don't know about. Um, just kind of stick to myself
So
as
it
far as the coping.
sounds like you mostly do the cutting.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I was
So,
good this week.
and I'm so glad that that was a lot, a big thing, and that was a lot of effort on your part. It seems like because when I congratulated you on it, you kind of showed this, feeling like you didn't have a happy response, but I could tell then that it was a hard thing. Talk to me about moments this week when you felt I'm about to cut myself because this is too much for me.
I felt really guilty for even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of guilt. But so I didn't get rid of my razor.
Okay. Okay. And
I
that's
didn't.
okay. We didn't say you had, in our contract, it just said you wouldn't cut yourself this week. And you abided by your end of the contract.
I
So
did.
I don't want you to feel guilty about not getting rid of the razor yet.
Okay.
Okay. How do you feel with me saying that to you?
Um, I mean, because there was a lot of guilt just thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
guess knowing you weren't that disappointed. I mean, you're not completely disappointed in me.
I'm not at
So
all disappointed in you. And I want you to know that that's very big for you to know that I am extremely proud of the fact that you abided by the contract parameters and did not cut yourself. That's a huge accomplishment. So don't ever diminish that. That's
okay,
awesome.
okay.
Hmm. So it seems like you do go to feeling guilty a good bit. When did that start? When you started feeling guilty? Did you start feeling guilty when you first had like feelings that you were supposed to be a boy? Tell me about that.
You know, I remember one time I can recall that my mom wanted me to wear this obnoxious frilly
Mhm.
Easter dress, and I wasn't going to wear it.
Mhm.
And so she wouldn't let me go to church for Easter.
Oh wow.
And and I felt guilty. I felt whole time when I knew she was on her way back home. I felt so guilty, and I just didn't. I was really nervous to see what would happen when she got home.
Now, why do you think you felt guilty? Did you feel guilty because you weren't with her at
I
church?
wasn't with her. Um, she was just really angry. She was angry,
Okay.
and so
And her being angry, it seems, causes you to feel guilty.
oh yeah, yeah. I don't like I don't like disappointing people in general. I
Okay.
think so. I'm not definitely not her. So
So that makes me know when you just said definitely not her that she's extremely important to you.
Yeah.
And you guys have your spats
Oh
and
yeah.
what have you, but at the end of the day, that relationship is something that you extremely value and want to preserve going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm their only child, so I
Mhm.
definitely,
So definitely we can work on going forward in other sessions, the communication like I talked to you about earlier, and the role playing and where I'll pretend to be your mother, you'll pretend to be your mother, and I'll pretend to be you as well. And we'll definitely go forward with that in future sessions. And we'll begin it in the next session.
okay.
And if that's something you're still good
Yeah.
with and feel like will be helpful, but just based by the fact that you said you said definitely not my mother, so you don't like for her to be angry and you like to make sure you don't disappoint her in any way. That definitely magnified to me the importance of your relationship with her and made me realize how important it is because the first session we had talked and I kind of got the feeling your father relationship was maybe more important, but now I'm kind of thinking you just want a great relationship with both of your
I
parents.
do. Yes, absolutely. And
Mhm.
and maybe he really couldn't make it. I don't know,
True, true.
but he hasn't called since I talked to my mom either. So
Now, would he call in the past?
no, I mean not
No.
really, but I kind of expected a phone call in
Mm-hmm.
the sense of so your mother talked to me kind of thing.
Okay. And it was hurtful, I can tell by the way you're looking that he didn't call because and you expected it in a way.
I kind of I'm not sure. You know, I don't know. I guess I don't know how I'd feel about that. I don't know if it'd be nice to just tell him, or if it, or if I should thank my lucky stars he hasn't called. So
So
I don't know.
you feel very ambivalent about whether you would really want him to call or not
Right.
because
Yeah.
of perhaps why would you not want him to call? Let's go down that road.
I don't. You know, he's a quiet man anyway,
Mhm.
but I guess it would hurt even more if he said he were disappointed
Okay.
because he hasn't ever shown disappointment before,
Mhm. Mhm.
or not to me. But
Mhm.
I think that would be rough.
And you said when your mother and you get into arguments, you said at the first session that he usually will intervene and be like, stop bothering her, let it go, and what
Yeah.
have you to your mother. So that, how does that make you feel when he does that?
I don't know if he's just doing it to stop us from bickering,
Mhm.
or if he's doing it to because he truly does have my best interest at hand.
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, he doesn't say anything to me afterwards.
It sounds like you and he have similar communication styles where you don't really know how to open up on a deep level to each other. So there's a lot of things open to interpretation. Would you say that's accurate, not
Wow.
accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably a good way of looking at it.
And, we were talking about using these communication role plays for your mother, but I feel like they could be as much beneficial as well with your dad as with your mother. How do you feel about the communication role playing that we're going to start next week?
Should be interesting.
Okay. Yeah. And it doesn't make you feel weird or anything to talk about doing the role playing, but you're
No,
willing to.
it does.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, just the unexpected, I guess.
Hmm. But you're willing to experience doing some role playing here and see, and you're open to trying it at least.
Yes.
Going forward.
Yes.
That's good, definitely. All we can do is try things and if they're beneficial and if you want to continue doing them, we will, but I never want you to feel forced into anything. This right here is your safe place where you know yourself better than anyone else, and if it's not working for you, then we will not continue. Now, how do you said that your girlfriend and you got into the spat, but we didn't really talk about the spat much. I wanted to come back to that. How, when you all fight, what does it look like?
It's almost like she plays the victim,
Okay.
and she'll just start crying. And, she said stuff, "Are you ashamed of me?" And it's not that at all. I mean, I'm not. But, I mean, like I said earlier, I'm just not ready to jump off a bridge, you know.
And you're still very young, and did you mention is she the same age as you approximately?
Yeah, she's
right?
a few months older, but
Okay.
same age.
So it seems like she might be wanting to take the relationship to the next level, in a more hurried fashion than you are.
Definitely. I mean,
Okay. And you did explain to her when you all, so she's crying, okay? What did you do when she started crying?
well, I had to walk out.
Okay.
I had to walk out for a minute, and I came back,
Okay.
and I told her I'm just walking out for a minute, and she was just angry. I think she felt that she wasn't needed, and I wasn't wanting her to be part of my plan or my life, and that's not it at all. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what my plan is in full.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I kind of know what I want the end result to be, but I know it doesn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And how did the argument end? What was it that diffused the argument?
I think I just quit talking about it.
Okay. So there again, you have another relationship. It looks to me like that communication is not what it could be if it were an optimal situation.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, maybe I'm the common denominator. I don't talk well. I don't know.
I don't think that you should blame yourself. I think that, everyone could benefit from some communication strategies and techniques. The world we live in today is a lot of digital communication, for example, and you smiled when I said that, so you definitely are familiar with the texting and
It's a lot easier to send a text.
yeah. And what makes that so much easier for you personally? Because it does vary from person to person.
If I can just put it in quick few words, and it doesn't have to take an hour
Mm-hmm.
to get from point A to point B in a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So it sounds like you like short conversations that are direct and to the point.
I do. I prefer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're not alone with that. That is what makes texting so appealing to many people. So I don't want you to think it's a bad thing at all. But when we do have significant relationships like the one with your parents and the one with your girlfriend, having that verbal communication skill set is a really huge asset in those situations. And it can go a long way to diminish any miscommunications that might cause arguments, just like the one you recently had with your girlfriend, where she perceived that she wasn't important to you, and that's why you did not want her to attend the meeting with your own, the coffee. But in actuality, you were trying to protect your mother from having too much information she may not like at one time.
Yes.
So you see how that could be beneficial for you
Yes.
going forward to. Okay.
Yeah.
And how else do you think? Do you think there's other ways that communication could help you moving forward?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I end up probably saying the wrong thing, but
Maybe perhaps let's just give another scenario where, remember you had said there earlier that there was an event coming up on campus with the puppies.
right.
Maybe communication could help you to spark up a friendship with someone, or just be a social, more social in events like that. Do you see where that could benefit you in that scenario as well?
Sure. Yeah. I guess it can't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's kind of, again, fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I don't have to stay the whole time.
Right.
So.
Just 5 minutes and that's it. And then if you feel really not comfortable, or if you feel I just don't want to be here, you can just go and not go again. But if you're feeling comfortable, I really would like you to stay another 5 minutes and just see how you feel at the end of that 5 minutes. And just keep going if you continue to feel comfortable. The second you do not feel comfortable, though, I definitely want you to leave.
Okay.
And you're open to doing that maybe this week sometime?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's put that down as one of your homework assignments.
Okay.
But I also want to, I feel like since communication is something we seem to have had a lot of talking about during this session, what I'd really like to do is to have you journal some this week while we're apart. You had, I know you had adhered to the contract for the no self-harm this past week, and I really want to set you up so that it gets easier with time
Okay.
instead of harder, because it looks like you struggled with it this week quite a bit.
Yes, I'd say.
Okay, so I feel like what we could do for homework is we could have you journal when you start having the feeling, the urge, oh, I think I might cut myself because this is really hard right now. I want you to try your best to make a little journal note. You can even do it in your cell phone. There's a note in your cell phone.
Okay.
And write down what time it was, what day it was, what, if you can remember, what were the preceding thoughts that you had just before feeling like that? What were your thoughts while feeling like that? And the time of day, might be good too, because we can possibly have a pattern of when this is more likely to occur.
Okay.
How do you feel about doing that homework assignment?
Journaling's okay. I don't mind writing.
Okay. Oh, well, that's great. That's great. So it's more of the verbal communication that you have the issues with. Is that right?
I would think so.
Okay. And you're open to doing the journaling, and you're going to do the puppy event. It's coming up this week.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Well, we will do that and get back together next week. Okay, Charlie?
Okay.
Have a wonderful
Thanks, you too.
weekend.
You
Okay.
too.
Bye-bye. I don't know if that was actually up.